On the subject of immigration, Arizona passed a law because nothing else happened on the federal side. Apparently, it is now. Democrats are talking about a plan. Here's some of the ideas. High-tech sensors would be installed across the Mexican border, more Border Patrol officers, and a process to legalize an estimated 10.8 million illegal immigrants in the United States. They'd have to register and be screened, but if eligible, they're in and they have to start paying taxes. All right, Jack, to you. Is that a solid idea?
It's a good bill. At the end of, interestingly enough, at the end of the Bush administration, with the support of President Bush and Senator John McCain of Arizona, we almost had an immigration deal in this country. It fell apart. Moderate Republicans were for it. The Democratic Party was for it. The far right was against it. And unfortunately, you get the feeling in an election year that might be what happens here. I think the president said today on Air Force One that he doesn't think the public has the stomach for another huge piece of legislation right now. But we do need immigration reform. The Democratic bill has some provisions in there for added law enforcement, added border protection, added border enforcement. Perhaps that will fly this time. My guess is the Republicans will draw a line in the sand, and I think their line will probably hold just as it did a few years ago.
And the line will be drawn over amnesty for those already in the country?
Well, you know, it's a red meat issue for them. It's how they circle people to their cause. It's why, people listen to angry talk radio, right? It's the language of white resentment in America. It's a very, very unfortunate dialogue, but it is one that people fan the flames.
All voices of Republicans are white resentment in America?
I didn't say that, but the language of, but the opposition to this measure, certainly at a time of economic hardship for America, will certainly stir up resentment, and it will be largely amongst Anglos. That's just a fact.
So let's go ahead. We have about 30 seconds.
We go through periods of hysterical nativism in our country. We have for the past 300 years. We're in another one. And yet we have to have immigration reform. And one of the places we need to start is we need to start with big corporations and start enforcing some of the laws with them. And right now, politicians do not have the stomach for that. And yeah, we're going to need amnesty. Absolutely. We've got nearly 11 million people in this country, and they're not going to go away. We're not going to deport them. So
you're saying let them stay. You're saying let them stay.
I think let them earn citizenship. And there has to be a pathway because nothing else is practical. Like it or not, that's how it is. Face the unwanted reality or the wanted one.
All right. Let's go to the last topic. Come on. In the state of California, you have the option of becoming an organ donor when you get your driver's license. In New York, they're talking about giving you the option of not becoming one. They are thinking about making an organ donor by default unless you don't want to. So understand the difference here, all right? In California, you have to check yes if you want to. In New York, you'd have to check no if you don't want to. Otherwise, if you were in an accident and died, your organs would automatically go to someone who needs them. Overseas, 24 nations approach it this way. New York would be the first in the United States. In the big picture, should you be an organ donor by default, Celeste?
I'm really for this, as long as it's explained to people so they don't feel sandbagged and they really, if they have a religious or a cultural objection, that they can opt out. But we have more than 100,000 people on the waiting list right now for organ donations, and approximately 18 people die every single day, according to the latest statistics, on the list waiting for donation. Because I've reported a lot on gangs, sadly, I've been in a lot of situations where a young man or woman is brain dead, and his frantic family, because hers has no good way of making a decision at that time, and so as a consequence, they don't make it. And if this decision was forced early on, then we're going to have a lot more people living. And when something tragic like I've seen happens, at least that awful death can have a purpose. So, right. I'm for it.
You're for it. So you're saying don't check, I want to do it. You do it by default. That's what you're saying, unless you don't want to.
Because if people don't want to, of course they shouldn't have to do it. Okay. But the thing is most people, their default position is they haven't made a decision. So let's make the default position you get to save a life. And if you don't want to, and if that feels wrong to you, then you have every right to be the boss of your body, as we say in preschool.
All right, Jack, wrap us up. What do you think?
Look, Celeste is right, and she captures the issue very well. It's a brilliant idea. I mean, for years I've been trying to keep that little red sticky thing on my driver's license, and it falls out. It's somewhere in the bottom of my wallet, and I always wonder, well, how will anyone know? I think it's good, and I actually think it is a good message to send to people. I understand that they can opt out if they have a religious reason, but it's a good message to say that, hey, in this society, you get an awful lot from your government. If you are in a car accident, whether you pay your taxes or not, an ambulance that can take you to the hospital. This is just the price you pay to live in our civic society. I think it's a very reasonable price.
All right. Jack and Celeste, well done. It was great talking to both of you, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. Take care.
Thanks, Fred.
Okay. Adios.